So today we're going to be looking at what if China made an empire. And basically China is the second strongest in the world, or third, it depends really what you think, I guess. So, because you might think Russia's second, you might think China's second, Russia's third, whatever. But China's going to be making an empire today. And first, we're going to be taking over Mongolia. And with Mongolia being, I'm pretty sure, a flat land, and there's not really much to defend. China just absolutely stomps Mongolia to the ground. And with that, Mongolia is now gone. China next would look towards the Koreas, which China would most likely just like. So Mongolia is now gone. China next would look towards the Koreas, and with North Korea basically are being a Chinese puppet, they would just infiltrate the government and take it over. So with North Korea gone, China would attack South Korea, which would be defended by Japan, the Philippines, and other countries. With South Korea being attacked, countries like Vietnam, Philippines, and Japan jumped in to help South Korea against China. China would start an invasion in North Vietnam and attacking some cities along the way. They would start an invasion in South Korea, with no help being there yet, and the Chinese army fully mobilized to take over the peninsula. With China taking over Korea, it was mostly just naval battle, except for Vietnam, which China called their allies in Laos and Cambodia to attack Vietnam. With Vietnam being on the brink of destruction, they would surrender to the Chinese, Laos, and Cambodia forces. And now it would be only naval battles, and China would make their first naval landing on Taiwan. They would sweep through Taiwan, honestly, because they have a very big army. Then it's Japan and Philippines. They wanted to sue for peace, but China decided to make them have unconditional surrender. And after a while of fighting in the Philippines really surrendered. And then Japan, being the only one left, would also surrender. Alright, now let's take a look at the peace treaty. Editor, cut here, because I don't want to pause things. So, the peace treaty was formalized, and let's just go over it. The Vietnam got carved up into Cambodia, Laos, and China taking the northern part, Laos taking the middle part, and Cambodia taking the southern part. Over here in the Philippines, the northern islands were taken over by China, and then the southern Philippines were turned into puppets. China took over South Korea, Taiwan, or Chinese Taipei, however you say it. Some islands in Japan, and Japan got turned into a puppet. And then Laos and Cambodia were now also made into puppets. So now China has some places to go. They can go through Kazakhstan. They can go through Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, or India, but that's a tough one. They can attack Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, which would probably be not that hard. They could have Laos and Cambodia attack Thailand. They could attack Russia, but that's also pretty hard. They could attack Indonesia, Malaysia. So yeah, China has a lot of places to go first. So China, who are you gonna invade first? Oh. Well, China went after Central Asia first and started pushing through against the Central Asian countries, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. Kazakhstan would be pushed back a lot. Kyrgyzstan would be put on the brink of destruction. Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan would be overrun. And then it would be Kazakhstan. If Kazakhstan, seeing no point and keep fighting, Kazakhstan surrenders. So let's look at this peace deal. So now the Chinese Empire has just annexed Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and puppeted Kazakhstan. So now they have a bit more places to go, and they've decided to finish the job and take over and attack Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. With this, China would start steamrolling over Uzbekistan, while Kazakhstan attacked from the north. Although there would still be some rebellions in Kazakhstan from people who didn't want to join China, but realistically, they couldn't really put up much of a fight with the Chinese forces still in their country. And Uzbekistan would soon fall. So Uzbekistan would soon fall after China steamrolled their country. Then it was just Turkmenistan, who got pushed back a lot. And then after a while, they would surrender. So let's look at the peace treaty. So this peace treaty would have Uzbekistan being split up between China and Kazakhstan, and Turkmenistan being turned into a puppet. So down to South Asia, there would be India would say, heck no, and then make an alliance against China. With this alliance against China, more countries would join, such as Burma, Bhutan, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Even countries that are a bit far away, like Turkey, Ukraine, and some European countries that are on the eastern side, would also join the anti-China alliance. And then also Australia and New Zealand would also join. And also Australia and New Zealand would also join. So with this alliance, China didn't really want to fight an alliance right now. So they're going to go after two other nations that weren't in an alliance. These nations would be Iran and These nations would be Iran and Thailand. With this, Iran would be attacked by Turkmenistan and then be pushed down. Turkey, who doesn't want more Chinese expansion on their territory or near them, would start an invasion themselves in order to make sure that China never got to their border exactly. With this became a little race for who can get the most land between China and Turkey. Even Iraq wanted to join the war in order to get back some territories. So with this, there was literally nothing that China could do against free fronts. And as months went by, Iran would soonly fall to the joint effort of China, Iraq, and Turkey, them all taking their fair share of the land. And with this turn of events, we actually see something. Pakistan willingly joins China's empire as a puppet, so then they can get more land in like Iran, Afghanistan, and India. Meanwhile, over here, let's go check on Thailand. Oh. Well, that's not good. Anyways, Laos and Cambodia would keep attacking Thailand until they officially surrendered. And then we can see another peace deal happening. So let's check out both these peace deals here. First up, the Thailand one. So with the peace treaty, Cambodia would annex southern Thailand and Laos would annex northern Thailand. But then we see something interesting here. Both Laos and Cambodia unite into forming Indochina. Anyways, back to the second peace deal over here. So this is the Iran peace treaty, which there's a lot going on. So Turkey took over this part of Iran and then united with Azerbaijan to make like a Turkic union or whatever. Turkmenistan, well, is now basically just called Iran, and then there's just an eastern Iran now. There's a western Iran, which joined the anti-China alliance. Pakistan got some parts of Iran down here. And then Iraq took also some parts of Iran, like the western parts. So now this is the Chinese Empire right now. So there's 3 places that they could realistically go unless they just want to make more puppets. They can go into Afghanistan, the actual anti-China alliance, and then Russia. So with these 3 options, they would take the weakest one, which is Afghanistan. I'm pretty sure it would be Afghanistan. So, but sorry, Afghanistan, you don't have plot armor anymore. You ain't the graveyard of empires. So, this is actually your graveyard instead of empires. So yeah, anyways, after a bunch of fighting in the mountains or whatever Afghanistan has, I'm not too familiar with it. They would be annexed into the Chinese Empire. So let's see this peace treaty. So in this peace treaty, Eastern Iran would take Western Afghanistan, China would take the north part, and then Pakistan would take the east part. So now two options left, so where can this expand? So there's the Southern Asian Alliance, the anti-China alliance, and Russia. And obviously I think China would attack the weaker of the two, the one with their guard down, Russia. This is a big war, so China's gonna have to spend at least like a few years trying to take over Russia. But then something else happens. The anti-Chinese alliance had enough and declared war on China. So this is an even bigger war now. So with this, China would have to take an offensive would have to try and take over multiple areas at once while it's still trying to stay alive. So let's start with India. Between Pakistan and India, I'm pretty sure that between Pakistan and India in this timeline, I'm pretty sure China's supplying Pakistan. Pakistan would at least be able to like hold throughout some advancements and even push back some. So making some advancements over here near trying to reach New Delhi. And India making some advancements in Kashmir. So India just kept making advancements into Pakistan, while over here the Indochina country would start attacking Burma, and with Burma still being weak, the Indochina country would blast through their nation and keep going until they were at the Indian border, which they kept going anyways. When Burma surrendered, that left an opening in the front with Bangladesh. When Bangladesh was soon to fall after. With China's special mountaineers, China would be able to cross the Himalayas, taking over Bhutan and Nepal. They kept pushing in eastern India, taking over this bit over here. They would keep pushing until India realized they had to send more troops over there instead of just fighting Pakistan like they always do. So So Pakistan would be able to push back with less Indian troops on their borders, and then be able to just push them out of her country. India would be pushed back on all sides, with China forces reaching Kashmir, them and India being pushed out. Let's go check on the other front lines, as this one's not really doing good for the Blues. Let's check out Iran. So Iran was doing pretty good. Western Iran was pushing Eastern Iran with Turkey's help, and they managed to make a pretty good front line pushing against the Eastern Irans until China had Iraq declare war on Turkey, declaring that they could be a part of their empire and they could keep their lands and even expand more lands if they chose to be a part of this empire. So Iraq took the bait and attacked Turkey and Eastern Iran at the same time, causing Eastern Iran having to fall back. And wait, did I just say Eastern? But I mean Western. Excuse me, my English isn't good. Anyways, Western Iran would have to defend against Iraq and Eastern Iran. With Eastern Iran pushing back to the border and even pushing through the border, Western Iran was no match to the combined forces of Eastern Iran and Iraq, which then would surrender. Azerbaijan, part of the Turkic Union, would be crushed, and then in the Caucasus, the oil would be taken over, and a lot of the Caucasus would just be taken over. Meeting up with the Kazakh invasion, which Russia couldn't stop because of too much of all the front lines they had to keep fighting in. So Kazakhstan would really just be on its merry way, happily invading all of the free land they could just take. So back at Turkey, they would be fighting, and then Kurdish rebels would also pop up, and then they would just keep fighting, and Turkey would eventually be taken over, leading to Constantinople/Istanbul, what if you're Greek or Turkish, being taken over, and then Bulgaria being attacked, and then over here back at Russia, more attacks would be pushed, but there wouldn't really be any use except for like over here in Vladivostok, because this is mostly just, winter. There's not really much over here to attack. So, yeah, we're just not really gonna attack this that much. But back over here, the Europeans are being pushed back with Chinese weapons, and Ukraine would be advanced by both sides, with the Caucasus being taken over. Ukraine would fall, and then eventually Russia would lose a lot of her major cities, causing the majority of her nation to fall as well. With this, the only few nations that were still against China left would be the European nations, India, Australia, New Zealand, and Russia. Although Russia's basically dead, so let me just fix that real quick. Alright, so Russia's dead. Anyways, back to India. They would keep being pushed until they made a stalemate, but it wouldn't last long, as they would get pushed back again until India was completely fallen or occupied. The Chinese would decide to just invade all of these nations. And then they would attack Australia, which Australia couldn't put much of a fight, as China would take over most of her important cities, and then Australia would collapse, following New Zealand. With this, the European nations of Hungary, Slovakia, Czechia, and Poland would be the last few against China, at least in the war. with Chinese forces still approaching them, Hungary, Slovakia would fall, Poland would fall, Poland would fall, Czechia would fall, until it's just Germany. With the capture of Berlin, Germany would really just flop to the ground and surrender, even though their German spirit would still keep them from surrendering that long. So, ginormous peace treaty. Let's just see how this goes out real quick. So, huge empire, a huge China, huge empire, a huge peace treaty. So we're gonna have to go through a lot. Let's just start from right to left. So, Philippines, IS united with Indonesia, making a union puppet. Australia, New Zealand were puppeted. Japan got Sakhalin and their islands over here. China got all of Siberia. And Indochina got Burma, Bangladesh, and some parts of Bhutan. India was puppeted. China took this huge bite out of South Asia. Pakistan got a huge part of India. Iran got their western parts back. Oh wait, I forgot to do a line here. Hold on. So Western Iran got Eastern Iran got Western Iran and Azerbaijan, and then some parts of Turkey. Iraq got some parts of Turkey and Northern Iran. Kurdistan got independence and was puppeted. Iraq was also puppeted. Oh yeah, Kazakhstan got a huge bite out of Russia. Russia was puppeted. The Caucasus were puppeted. Turkey was puppeted. Bulgaria, Romania, all of these European countries were puppeted. And that's the big empire of China. Now, if you liked this episode of making empires for different countries, and please subscribe. I want 5K subs because I want money. Yeah. Thank you. Goodbye.